Okay guys, this is a quick introduction to the game editors on Sploder. So once you log in, go ahead and click on Make a Game, either here or here, in order to bring up the different game editors. I'm going to be going over the Retro Arcade. I think it is the most intuitive option and it works best with most of the different game concepts that I saw. So we're going to open that up there. Now for the purposes of this demonstration, I am going to create a new game. You may already have a game or multiple games created that you simply need to edit. You're going to get to them in the same way. You're going to click on the Create button, and you'll either click New if you're making a new game, or Load if you need to load one up that you have already started. If you click on Load, it's going to show all the different ones that you have already started. If you click on New, it's going to ask you to make sure that you want to create a new game, or if you have other games that you've already made, you have the option to edit a current game as well. We're going to be making a new game. You're going to want to hit that plus button just one time. That'll create the first level of your game. Hit it once, and then choose the first level button that comes up. Next we're going to create the first stage. So first level, first stage, 1, 1, that's what we're going to be grading. When you hit the plus button for the stages, it's going to give you an option for what type of stage you want to create. A forest, a cave, or a technology-based world. They're just different skins. They all do the same thing. It's just what the scenery looks like is different. So I'm going to choose forest, hit the create button, and then choose stage 1 for level 1 in order to get going. When the editor comes up, it's going to look very blank like this. It'll have a background and your player character. When you start play, the character is going to fall out of the sky and land on the ground. You'll notice, however, that I don't have any ground right here, so that's the first thing that we're going to do. These three buttons, these three blue buttons, the first one is for static game items, things like the ground, background like the clouds or stars or whatever, scenery, hills in the background, things that don't hurt you necessarily, don't help you necessarily, they just kind of stay where they are and don't move around, aren't power-ups, aren't bad guys, kind of the everything else selection. So ground is an option here. The way that this menu works is if you click with your left mouse button and you drag left or right, then you will see different options for ground in this case, or for backgrounds in this case, or for scenery. And if there's more options, then you can click and drag up and down, and it'll show you a whole bunch of different things that you can choose as well. Vines that you can climb, liquid that you can bounce and swim around in, mushrooms which you can jump off of, platforms which you'll hover in midair, things like that. But first things first, we need to get that ground. So we'll make sure that we have ground selected. We'll choose the type of ground that we want. I'm going to stick with the nice grass on top type of ground, and we're going to draw it underneath of our player. This over here is our paintbrush, so that's what we're going to use to draw the land underneath of our guy. When we start drawing, he's going to jump up because he needs to fall a certain amount of distance. That's okay. It's normal. It's expected to happen. So let's go ahead and draw some ground. Let's make a bottomless pit there real quick. And let's make one more bottomless pit. Let's make it even more bottomless. One more bottomless pit, like such. Okay. Now we can also use the move button here. You can click there, click on the background, and drag in order to see more of the world. So I just dragged off to the side so that I could paint more ground, and I'll just run it all the way off to the end of the world, and that way we'll be able to actually end the game without dying. We'll be able to run off the edge, and that will be what completes the game. Might suggest putting like a sign or something out there that says an arrow pointing off to the end or a checkpoint mark or something like that, but that's not important right now. So let's go ahead and give the game a quick play test. You can do that by clicking this green button in the bottom right hand corner. That will drop your character into the game and you can control him as though you were playing the game on the website. The up button jumps, left and right buttons move left and right. So let's go ahead and well, you see I can't jump that high. So since I can't make that last jump, that's this one right here, we're going to need to either lower the ground or maybe we'll do something else. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now in order to exit out of your playtest, you can either die like I did, fall down a bottomless pit, run out of health, something like that, or you can hit this button right here at the bottom in the middle and that will exit the play session as well. So now we have our guy. Let's go ahead and add a couple of incentives for him. Let's add some coins maybe. The second option is going to be your power-ups and your interactable items. I'm going to drop some treasure on him, give him a coin right there. And let's also go ahead and give him a magic spell. And if you scroll down a fair bit, you're going to see this option here, Tunnel. So Tunnel allows you to draw a space through the ground where your character can walk. So that's what I'm going to do for this guy. I'm going to go ahead and create a tunnel through this piece of dirt. Because he can't make that jump, he should be able to make it into the tunnel. So we'll do a tunnel. And if you don't position it quite right, you can always hit that undo button in the top left hand corner and then try it again. Alright. So, oh no, I made a mistake. Undo button. It's your best friend. Now this will be interesting because when you're playing the game, pick up those coins, you see my score increased here. This is the magic spell counter. So when I go ahead and pick up these magic spells, now I've got 2 uses of magic spells. You'll see that where I'm standing, I don't know that there's a tunnel down there. So I'll try to make the jump, and maybe I'll fall in the tunnel, maybe I'll fall in the pit. But when you're in the tunnel, you can walk through the tunnel, but if you walk off the tunnel, then you fall out. So make sure that you either have ground underneath of the tunnel at the end, over here in this area, and that would be ground underneath of it, or alternately that you have a platform or something to that effect which would allow your character to walk on it. So I'm going to just drag the ground down here. Now you can do that by painting the ground and dragging it down like this. Perfectly acceptable. Or you could potentially use the eraser button as well to do the same general thing. Now I'll make a slope there so that our guy can kind of climb the hill, so to speak. There we go. So now we go through, collect some coins, collect some magic spells, try to do that jump. Can't make the jump, but we'll land in the tunnel. That's okay. We go to exit the tunnel, and now we're walking on the ground, we're climbing the hill, everything's okay. We might need to jump a little bit. Keep in mind that if you do use the magic spells or things like it, then you're going to need to put in your game design document what button it is that fires the magic spells. Alright? And you end the game by walking off the side. Let's add a bad guy or two. So the last blue button here is going to be for bad guys. I'm going to choose a simple bad guy and just drop him in there. And same idea. Get your magic spells, get through the tunnel, and this time when we find the bad guy, we could jump on him or we could pop him with the magic spell. and exit the game. You're a hero. In order to save your game, you're going to want to click on the blue back button and click that back button again and click it one more time. This will bring you to the menu that we saw in the beginning. You're going to want to save or save as, either way. If you click on save and it's a new game that you created, then it'll ask you for a title. If it is a game that you were already working on, one that you loaded and started again, say from yesterday, you open it up again today and you're going to work on it, if you click save, it'll just save it with the same name that you did before, so you won't see this option. But what happens if you have a whole bunch of different games and you need to clean things up a little bit? If we go back to our dashboard, and yes, we do want to leave the page after we made sure that we save. I did not save this one on purpose, but make sure that you save your stuff if you want to keep it. You'll leave the page. It'll bring you to your dashboard. You're going to click where it says My Games. It'll show all of the list of games that you have here. Yours should say unpublished. That means that they did not get put onto the website for other people to play. It's just you working on them inside of the game editor. Any of the ones that you don't need anymore, you can hit that purple delete button. It'll make sure that you really want to delete it before you do it, so you get another chance. You can either say really delete, or you can say, you know what, change my mind, cancel and go back to the games list. I actually meant to delete this one, this video example, not the Mario clone. And then we'll really delete, and your game was successfully deleted. Go back to the games list. And then you just keep doing that until you're all cleaned up. If you have any questions, ask your neighbor before you ask me. Once we have the game design document and the first level and first stage of your game completed, remember that the level is going to be graded based on how closely it matches your game design document. So make sure that your game design document is complete and up to date. You might need to edit it in order to keep in line with what you actually did in your game. If you have any questions, I repeat this, if you have any questions, ask your neighbor, and then if they don't have the answer, ask me.